Now my friend Billy Blackbird lives in the forest, the village forest, and he's very happy there, but sometimes he likes to go off into the town. Not to do any shopping, no, he likes to go to the park. And in the park, of course, he rummages around in the litter baskets. It's surprising what tasty morsels he finds in the litter baskets. It makes a change from worms and bugs and berries to find some cake or some crisps or some bits of chicken, chips. Oh yes, he really enjoys himself when he goes into the town. Well, one day he went into the town as usual, a few miles away from the forest, of course. He went to the park as usual and began digging down into one of the litter baskets. Deeper and deeper he went down into the litter basket to see what he could find. And at last he came up for air. And there, perched on the edge of the litter basket, looking rather puzzled, was another blackbird. "Hello," said this other blackbird, "and who are you?" I'm Billy Blackbird," he said. "You're not from these parts, are you?" No, I'm actually from the village forest, but I do come into the town sometimes so that I can dig around in these baskets, see what I can find." "Oh, well, it's nice to meet you," she said. I'm Bessie Blackbird. I live here in the town." "Oh, well, I'm Billy Blackbird. I don't know much about the town," he said. "Wish I could have a look around sometime." "Oh, well, I'd be delighted to show you," said Bessie. "Why not come and meet me sometime here in the park? I'm here at 6 o'clock. Every evening I like to sing evensong. In fact, we could make a duet, you know. And then I would show you around the town afterwards. It's much quieter in the town," she said, "in the evening when the traffic calms down." So Billy was delighted. Bessie Blackbird. She looked very handsome and seemed very nice. And when he got back to the forest, he thought to himself, 6 o'clock? What's 6 o'clock? So he thought he'd better ask his friend Tommy Thrush. "Tommy Thrush, I met a delightful Lady Blackbird in the town, and she said I could meet her again in the park any evening at 6 o'clock. "What's 6 o'clock? Oh, said Tommy Thrush. "Oh, you're a silly Billy. Why, that's humans' time. Of course they would know all about it in the towns. We tell the time by the sun, of course. When the sun rises, we get out of bed. And then the sun takes its course across the sky. 6 o'clock. I should think you'd have to leave here soon after 5 o'clock to get to the town. And 5 o'clock, I think the sun would be up about there. So you watch the sun tomorrow." Well, that's what Billy decided to do. He woke by the sun, of course, and he sang his morning song and kept his eye on the sun, and then the clouds came over. Ever such thick, dark clouds. Rainy clouds. The sun was completely obscured. Couldn't see it at all. So Billy had to make a guess where the sun was, and what he thought was about 5 o'clock, humans' time. He set out, got to the town, searched around the park, but there was no Bessie to to be found. So, very sadly, he went back to his forest, and he told Tommy Thrush about it. Well, that's the trouble with the sun, he said. When the clouds come out, then you'll have to find another way of telling the time. You need a clock. A clock, thought Billy. Now the only clock that he'd ever heard of was the dandelion clock, or some call it the fairy clock. Well, I'll try that then. So the next day he went searching for a fairy clock. Dandelion, one of those puffballs. He knew that if he blew it, it would tell him the time. So when it was later in the afternoon, as he thought, he got his fairy clock and he blew. And on the fifth puff, all the little seeds had gone. Oh, goody goody, said Billy, it must be 5 o'clock. And so he set out again to go to the town, arrived at the park, searched around. No Bessie to be found. Oh dear, he was getting desperate. Went back to his forest and thought, I'll have to ask Dr. Owl, because Dr. Owl knows everything about everything. So he asked Dr. Owl, how could he tell the time? How could he know when it was 5 o'clock? He tried the sun, and the clouds came over. He tried the fairy clock, and that didn't seem to work. Oh, said Dr. Owl, no, the fairy clock wouldn't work. It tells you God's time. And I'm afraid these humans, they play around with the time in summer, you know. They're on summertime, yes. Hour ahead. You better let the church help you. Church? Said Billy. Oh, yes, said Dr. Owl. I think the church could help you. Well, how can the church help me? Well, in the afternoon, you go down to the village church, and listen to the clock. Every hour it strikes. And when it strikes 5, you know it's time for you to comb your feathers and be on your way. Oh, yeah, this seemed to be most interesting. The church could help him. So, next day, in the afternoon, he flew down to the village church, and he perched on one of the gravestones and watched the hand of the clock going around. And it struck. Doing, 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 doing. That's only 4, said Billy. Oh, I've got to wait a lot longer. I'll fly around the churchyard a few times, see if I can find any worms. So, after a while, he went back to his perch on one of the tombstones and watched the hand going around again. At last, doing, 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 doing. That's it, said Billy. Fine, time for me to go. And so off he went to the town. He arrived at the park, and there was Bessie in the old oak tree. She just started to chirp. Tweet, tweet, chirp, 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 tweet, tweet. Billy perched alongside her and joined in a happy chorus between them, the two of them, on the same branch, chirp, chirping and tweet, tweeting together their evening song. Afterwards, Bessie took him around the town, showed him the sights of the town. And for supper, they found some fish and chips. Very nice they were too. And Billy went went back to the forest ever so pleased that he'd managed to find Bessie and spend an evening with her. I expect you'd like to know what happened with Bessie and Billy, and that must be another story. But it's good to know that Billy found the church could help him. And I'm sure the church could help you as well. It's surprising what interesting things the church could tell you about. Not only the chimes of the clock.